I got mugged. She took every little bit of power I had and left me with household appliances. We gotta get back on top.
How far you've fallen, witch killer?
I'm gonna walk the road.
The road is a death wish.
It's a dead end.
The road is a myth. It's a con, a cult.
Yeah. But what if it isn't?
When Kathryn Hahn first came into Marvel Studios, it was actually for a general meeting. She was an actor that we very much wanted to work with, and we wanted to see what could be a good fit.
Okie dokie, neighbor.
Agatha was a fairly obscure character from the comics, but Kathryn made her all her own.
You didn't think you were the only magical girl in town, did you?
There was literally no discussion of it continuing past WandaVision. Like, you always know that there's a possibility, I think, in the Marvel world, but there was certainly no expectation that this centuries-old witch, buried deep within the archives of the Marvel comics, was going to be making a comeback after WandaVision.
When we cast Kathryn Hahn, we had high hopes that she would bring so much to the role, but I think it didn't really hit until Agatha All Along dropped and the song became a sensation.
And I killed Sparky too.
All of a sudden, my face was like a meme, and my kids had to tell me what the hell a meme was, and then I was like a GIF. The whole thing was like so out of body.
It was so much bigger than we anticipated. And then when I came back to Marvel and started developing some ideas for different shows, every show concept I had an Agatha piece to it. You know, no matter what character or what world, there was always, you know. And then in episode 104, Agatha comes in, and Kevin finally said, should we be doing a show based on Agatha? And then it became, why aren't we doing a show based on Agatha?
Well, I'm exceptional.
Lou Esposito from Marvel said, can we hop on the phone? You know, I knew that it was something Marvel, but maybe a cameo, or I had no idea. And then he said, how about your own series? And I just about crapped my pants, pardon my French.
I can't believe any of this is happening.
The pilot is major WandaVision vibes because we are starting inside of a TV genre.
The chief calls and tells me hibernation's over. We got a case only you can solve.
When we were doing WandaVision, it was never parody. We just dropped into each of those styles, and we wanted to do that again, but we wanted to be through Agatha's lens.
Well, who better to solve the mystery than one of Westview's very own?
We had so much fun making the Agnes of Westview, our little like crime show within the show.
This is our morgue set, which is the location of the climax of our pilot episode. Detective Agnes O'Connor has been trying to figure out the identity of a Jane Doe in a murder case. And all of the clues and plot points, they lead her to this location where she sees the body and figures out that it's Wanda Maximoff.
That witch is gone, leaving you trapped in her distorted spell. But you don't have to stay there, do you?
One of the things that I was so excited to hear was that this show is going to try to rely more on the practical magic.
Start it here, and then if you can turn your body as you're doing it, we cut when it's over your face.
In executing these things practically, there's an enduring effect that it has on the storytelling.
Is it hot? You?
Yes, claw your way out.
Not only do we get to do fantasy, and we get to do contemporary, and we get to do comedy, but we also get to do true period garments.
It's gonna be an adventure. Everybody ready? Because who knows what's gonna come out.
We really thought it was important to tell the entire story of the periods that she had done previously in WandaVision. And so I fought very hard to make sure that we could actually physically do it on the day. So we really rehearsed it kind of like, you know, musical theater costume changes. And we had to plan out very specifically how we would underdress one costume and put the sweater over the top of this, and then the camera would cut up this way so that we didn't have to do the pants for that one. And it was choreographed within an inch of its life.
We're here to make up the wardrobe.
Thank you so much. Adore you all so much.
It's my belief about Agatha that her true self, like her best self, is mentor, that she's in fact a frustrated mentor. And so what we wanted for this show was an opportunity to pair her with someone. I mean, she's still a nasty mentor and a mean mentor, but she is a teacher. She really, really is.
Does this look centered?
Let me see. Maybe if I just put it a little more to the
The Agatha team relationship is so complicated and there's so many layers to it. And so having Agatha as like a motherly figure to teach him how to be a witch is really quite lovely. And Kathryn's just so easy to work with. And I think we've got great chemistry.
I feel really optimistic about this.
Aw, that's sweet.
We had a chemistry read.
We walked in and we both had the same
Black Vans on that day, which I thought was a good omen, our black shoes.
these same pair of Vans on that I then didn't take off for a month after that because until I found out if I got the part or not. I was like, this is a good luck charm. I cannot take these shoes off.
I want to work with you, Detective Agatha. I'm a rule follower, a team player. Some might say codependent.
There's something so incredibly deep about him as a performer and as a person.
What I loved about this script is that it shows like different types of superheroes. Like Billy is openly gay. He's not like the norm of teenagers. And I just really loved showing the differences within the Marvel universe that aren't just the muscly 6-foot superhero.
So you broke the rules. Big deal. That's what makes you special.
You know, in any MCU property, you have to have a villain or some kind of counterpoint. And so we talked at length about who would be a foe for Agatha. And so this notion of Death herself being the adversary for Agatha felt so right.
I've missed you.
I hate you.
We were just so delighted that Kathryn and Aubrey know each other outside of the Marvel space. And so they had an instant chemistry. It just felt serendipitous.
Fate has her way with us once again. Kathryn called me and told me about the character. It just seemed so fun because I essentially get to play multiple characters in one, which is kind of my favorite. I get to play a cop, like an FBI agent, Agent Rio, and then I get to play the Green Witch, and then my final form as Lady Death.
If you're gonna have somebody who can go toe-to-toe with Kathryn Hahn, you can't really do better than Aubrey Plaza.
I just feel so in tune with her. We really lucked out.
Admit it. You prefer me.
Horizontal? In a grave?
Let me get my purple back. And then come find me.
When Agatha gets out from under Wanda's spell, she has 0 power.
For the first time in a long time, you're vulnerable.
She realizes the shortcut to getting her power back is to walk the witch's road, where a powered down witch can travel it to power herself back up. The catch is, in order to walk the road, you have to form a coven. And this was all born of the idea of like, what would be the hardest thing for Agatha Harkness to do? And it would be forming a coven.
Wherever you are, a coven there shall be.
That's beautiful.
No, it's definitely not.
Well, me, Kathryn, am really blessed by this coven. It's a real delightful group.
What witch in her right mind would join Agatha Harkness's coven?
Not looking for right-minded witches, as it happens.
When I talked to Jack on the phone, and she told me that it was a Sicilian witch whose power was divination and her trial was tarot. First of all, I am a Sicilian. I do think I am a witch. And in American Horror Story, I was this bathhouse singer that started to do tarot. I thought, wait a minute, I seem to be following some sort of pattern. So it was divined that I should continue on this path.
Let's talk scars.
Oh, yes. Look at mine. Oh, what is that?
That's a vampire bite.
Right after I knocked out his other two.
Yeah.
I was a fan of WandaVision when it came out, and I didn't realize how many witches were already in the Marvel universe. So once I knew that this show was going to be a thing and that there was a possibility of being a part of it, I was over the moon.
You're bound.
And you need a chemical peel.
This is never gonna work.
As soon as I got the audition sets, I was like, Kathryn Hahn? WandaVision? Yes. You know, who doesn't want to be a witch? I mean, that's like a childhood dream.
What if you could finally answer the question that has haunted you for most of your life?
It feels like, you know, art imitating life. It feels like everyone came to this show wanting to get something out of it, and I think we have.
If you want to unbind, and you want to reverse your fortune, and you want to find out what happened to Mommy, and you...
Wait, where's Mrs. Hart?
You know, I was in a small town in WandaVision, and I thought, well, they'll be moving on from this small town.
Oh, I haven't been to a party since Mr. Davis passed
So
away.
are you in or are you out, Hart?
I was so flattered. So I would have said yes to anything at that point, you know, the flattery alone.
All right, gang's all here. Let's hit the road.
Our costume designer, Daniel Salone, who we worked with on WandaVision, has created some incredibly iconic looks.
The witches will all have what we call their home looks. They're their road looks.
For any project that I've ever done, I always feel like the costume is such an enormous jumping off point. You're informed by the choices that the costume designer has made, that the director has made with the costume designer. So you're kind of on the same page then all of a sudden. And with Marvel, which was new for me, it was so much more collaborative than I think I had thought it was going to be.
Okay, vámonos!
This jacket is the first garment that we designed, and I had a conversation with Kathryn very early on about her character, and we thought she is a covenless witch, and so we thought of her as a lone crow. And so we really leaned into that. You know, we created this very unique lapel that sort of is like the way that feathers lay together. In the belt, there's little hints at crow's feet. These little detail pin tucks here. And also in the back of the garment, there are many, many pleats. So we have actually a tail for the crow that is part of the pleating, but it blends in from afar.
This coat in particular I'm obsessed with because the lining is all runes.
We created this graphic of a murmuration of birds or crows that all are sort of swirling up here, and they dive down. And as they dive down, the birds start to transform into magic runes that we invented.
It's like bananas. So yeah, it also feels like a very sacred object.
The costume people are amazing, and it's very funny that Jennifer came to the road dressed like this, that she was like, all right, ready to go trek it in the road in my best silky pink. But the dress itself has like so many little details. Like there's mushrooms on here. There's like hands that are bound by rope because I myself am bound.
There's like lavender, and there's a mixing bowl, and there's stars and sort of elements of the celestial bodies that she's related to. And then we printed that in like a gold foil onto the dress.
We were looking up the history of pink, and pink used to be a very manly color. So even though Jen has her prissy moments, she also is very, very strong and very sure of herself. So I feel like this outfit kind of embodies that.
You look amazing.
I know.
Alice's look was a bit of a mystery to me at first. She is so protected, and she's covering for a lot of pain. And so we wanted to give her an armor and have her also have a bit of like a cyberpunk feeling about her. So we designed this jacket that has sort of all kinds of gack and metal quality to it. And we even created this image that's on the back that is based on, I think it's like a 7th century samurai poem that says, "Barns burnt down, now I can see the moon." There was all this fire element in her life. Her mother died in a hotel fire, and so the greatest pain of her life is actually painted on her back.
There's also this evil eye cutout that she has in her costume, and all of these amulets. That is the one thing that she's kind of taken from her mom. There's a stone that she wears that was her mother's, and I think in her one little nod to just in case my mom is right about all this, she's kept all these amulets on her.
If you're not trying to find her out here, why did you come with us?
She said the road would save me.
Daniel's done so much research. It's unbelievable. I'm in a traditional Sicilian shirt and palazzo pants and jacket from the 16th century. The detail in my coat, if you go up close and you see all of the symbols, it's stunning.
We wanted this to be a garment that felt like it was passed down to her through many generations. And we also wanted to have this shawl collar that would be a little bit of a showcase for some of these embroidered vignettes that we created. You know, we created like her child self sort of looking out at the horizon, an empty proscenium because Patti LuPone, come on. And we've got, you know, longevity and the timelessness of a never-ending life. She is over 450 years old.
How dare you?
And then this concept of women passing wisdom and knowledge to each other through water. There was so much about her character where she passes through time and space, and she is experiencing her life in these non-linear vignette moments. And so the eye is a central piece. And I love that it's always looking behind her because she's looking forward and seeing behind.
How long has it been?
Centuries.
When we embarked on developing this show, there were priorities out of the gate, like hot ticket items. We needed to have wardrobe moments. We needed to have, big performance con moments for Agatha. And music. There needed to be music. We needed to bring the Lopez's back.
She told us it's going to be this ballad. And it's one of those songs that has lived forever. It starts hundreds of years ago. No one knows how it got made. But like all folk songs that are that old, it's almost like a legend. There's different versions of it. Everyone has their own version, and it tells a different story, and people argue about what it means.
Like any song, and actually like American music itself, it started maybe out of like the ritualistic spiritual world of psalms and hymns, and then it sort of evolved in New Orleans to the jazz and blues, and then that evolved into rock and roll, and then that evolved into pop versions. And the Ballad of the Witch's Road takes that same journey.
I really like making these puzzle box shows where you sort of have to come at it from all these different angles. And they are so up for that. They love that challenge. They love having to make sure that the lyrics fit all the different pieces of the story and that all the different iterations make sense and there's a through line, but they're all distinct. And it's such an enormous challenge, and they are such partners in that endeavor.
Your singing doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to match rhythm. Right? So Bobby's down there working on boosting the click so that you guys can at least all feel the rhythm. My puzzle brain loves being told by a writer that you need to put these 7 secrets inside the song. It needs to be able to be sung as a love ballad or as a sacred chant. Give me those assignments and let me just take elements from what you've given me, Wiccan sacred texts, old hymns. Let me mix it all together, and it's really fun. It's like the ultimate puzzle.
Burn and brew with coven 2, and glory shall be thine.
The ballad clearly says, with coven true, glory shall be thine.
No, it doesn't. It's coven 2.
That doesn't make any sense.
It does if you're a student of the ballad.
There's a point at which I hand it off to Bobby, and then Bobby really has to take it all the way, not just through his own piano version or the version that we put in the computer. Then we have to perform it and create the demo. He does all the engineering for that. And that's only the beginning of the journey.
The first time we hear the ballad, it is hummed by Agatha. We don't know what that tune will become, but it becomes integral to the entire show.
In that first episode, there's the true crime version, and it is almost like WandaVision. We hear a TV intro theme. Down the road, down the winding road. That one is like old-fashioned blues.
The next time we hear it is the sacred chant. And the sacred chant is a version that exists where coven hands down to coven.
All we need to do is sing the ballad, and a door will appear. And we'll be on our merry way to having all of our magical dreams come true. Okay?
In the show, there's this mythology that covens are fated, that they're drawn together by mysterious forces of fate, and that's definitely what happened with our casting process. We didn't actually seek out musical people, they just came to us.
Seekest thou the road to all that's foul and fair? Gather sisters, fire, water, earth, and air. Darkest hour, wake thy power, earthly and divine. Burn and brew with coven true, and glory shall be thine.
When we read the scripts, we didn't know who was playing most of the parts aside from Kathryn.
This is just a little ditty.
So it turned out to be Patti LuPone.
Down, down, down the road, down the witch's road.
And we were a little bit smiting our foreheads because this is the voice of our childhoods. This is like the most iconic voice on Broadway. It's incredible.
So fun, so fun. Make the magic, make the magic.
We said, Patti, what part do you want to sing? Do you want to do the low part? Do you want to do the middle? What do you want to do? And she's like, darling, I'm a soprano and I do not sing backup. So put me on the top, baby.
We recorded the song in the studio, and Joe and I were there the same day Patti was not performing. It seemed like a performance. She was recording. But, I mean, she's hitting these high notes and, like, belting, and honestly, it was kind of rude because they put me and Joe after her, and I was like, why is this the order?
Allie and I were both really bashful to hear it, especially in public like that for the first time, because I was like, oh my God, hearing myself in front of Patti LuPone.
You're so surprised by yourself.
I was like, where am I?
Oh man, I was so intimidated. Also, you're recording with like these EGOT legends, you know, and our engineer in the booth is somebody that's like recorded like huge pop stars, and then there's just like me just coming in being like, I hope I'm on key.
Allie's got a gorgeous voice. Allie was singing high with me, and Kathryn's got this rock voice. So it was fun for everybody to discover their instrument, and then because we had become sisters, there's no judgment. There's just exploration and love.
I don't know. I can't judge myself singing. I really love karaoke, but that was one of those really exciting days for sure.
We've got this.
Down, down, down the road, down the witch's road. Down, down, down the road. Down, 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 down. Follow me, my friend, to glory at the end.
What is that?
Was that there before?
No.
Open it.
Is this the road? Because we should really go, like, right now.
All right, here goes nothing.
There is a comic called The Witch's Road, which we looked at and pored over and then came up with our own interpretation of the comic and of the world of it. And it was an enormous endeavor in the writer's room to figure out, what is the mythology of it? What does it look like? What does it feel like? How does the world function? So The Witch's Road is a legend. It is a myth. Everybody knows a witch who has an auntie or a sister or somebody who went on the road and was never heard from again. So there is a lot of mystery at the top of the show surrounding what is the road, where is the road, what does it look like?
I'm super excited to be taking a nearly fully practical approach with this show. When we were trying to figure out ways to ensure that the show spiritually felt like a spin-off to WandaVision, we looked back at the golden age of fantasy and horror. And so we utilized matte paintings, backdrops, and miniatures and forced perspective to create this show. And so the cast was able to feel grounded on set, which is so incredible.
Rule number 1, do not step off the road. Okay, well now you.
I remember when Jack and Mary were saying one of the things that was very important to them about the making of this show is that it be practical, not so reliant on blue or green screens. It recalled like those movie-going experiences of my childhood, like Wizard of Oz, of course, in particular, but any of those that are just about backdrops and actors in these huge sound stages where the whole thing is so immersive that you are just in a completely different world.
That's exactly how I pictured it.
Yes. Suits you. John Collins, our production designer, just got right inside of Jack Schaefer's mind, and he created this incredible set.
It all starts with a drawing and an illustration that we did to kind of get the look of the trees correct. And from that point, we had our sculptors do some little models that we made sure the look of the trees was dialed in. But that being said, then we didn't just make 50 of the same trees. We ended up, I think it was 55 individual trees that we sculpted. We built a series of steel armatures, and over the top of those steel armatures, we had basically sculpting foam that our sculptors put into place. And then we have the plasters come behind them and add some of the bark textures and smaller detail. And then we have the painters come over the top of that and add all the texture and the paint work. And then we have our greens team at the end adding a few real branches to the end of each and adding moss and leaves to some of these trees. So each one kind of has their individual character. And since multiple people were working on it, the individual artists were able to put a little fun twist on each of those.
I never doubted us for a second.
We talked about the deep greens of the forest, and that's kind of the danger zone if they step off of the path. And then we have different leaf colors that define the path depending on which trial they're going to. So we have blue leaves, we have kind of a yellow and red mixture, we have purple leaves. In a way, the color of the leaves kind of gives a clue as to the next trial that they're going to.
Waxing moon.
The fire phase.
It's splitting a fine line between trying to make it feel real in the first few episodes, because we want to believe that we're in, a quote-unquote real place. And then as our story develops and we see that it's a little bit of a construct of teen/Billy's mind, at that point we start to see the seams in our scenery a little bit, and we start to realize that it's a little bit more theatrical than we once thought it was.
I remember the first time we walked onto the set, me, Jack, and Kathryn, at the end of the road, we had like a big hug, and I just started crying.
I've had a lot of incredible days working within the MCU, but today perhaps is probably the most rewarding I've ever had to see the cast and the crew react so viscerally is a really special thing.
John Collins designed it. John.
Yes, John.
Oh my God.
John.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I couldn't believe the scale of it. I couldn't believe the detail, and I couldn't believe the practical magic of it. I mean, we had little fireflies actually that would just like glow on and off, and little mushrooms that would like light up, and the backdrops that would be for different times of the day, and the lighting board on the ceiling was just absolutely incredible.
Look at the moon, you guys.
So cool.
There was a lot of R&D going into not just the base of the road itself, but also special moments like looking off into the beach house, which we built as a miniature and put it in front of a backing.
The art department generates a set of blueprints of what the house would be if it was built full scale. We take that blueprint, we enter everything in the computer, and we scale everything down to the scale we're working at. And then we dissect all of the parts and we start assembling them. So we basically hand cut the pieces that have to be hand cut. Like all of the shingles that are covering the house are all cut out of cedar, they're cut to scale size, and they're cut by hand. All the little copper flashings on the roof are scaled down and cut by hand. We try to make it as authentic as we can. It'll probably take us about 3 weeks start to finish to build the beach house. We put all the detail pieces on. We'll 3D print all of the windows and doors and rocks and things of that nature. We'll send everything over to our paint department. They'll paint everything. And then the guys at our other shop will start doing all the miniature plants and grass and all of that stuff to finish the dressing.
It was really important not only to pull off the effect of the miniature in the background, but we also have our characters approaching it, and there's a transition from the pathway and the leaves and the sand. So we had it, probably 60 feet away from where our actors were standing, but we also had that kind of foreground piece with grasses and fencing and stuff like that that kind of funneled your eye toward the miniature itself.
Now this is a house. Getting to do things practically is such a joy, and that beach house, we planned that. We've been planning that for months. Because on our journey, the women are on the road and then the beach house appears and we go from dark to sunset. So figuring out how to do that reveal, and we're using this beautiful flare. So it's months and months and months in the making for that one shot. And when that shot happened, I literally was crying. I'm like, it happened and it was beautiful.
There are multiple layers there that we figured out kind of in a 3D model. And then still, when you're putting it all together, we're taking our best guess, but we all kind of breathe a sigh of relief when the frame actually gets up on the day and it's all working correctly.
Right off your vision board.
Maybe this is the end.
That would be such a bummer.
Trying to sort of crack this show and our discussions about, who is a witch, what is a witch. Obviously, the elements are very important both to witchcraft and to the history of persecuted witches, right? Witches are drowned, witches are burned. And it felt very important to represent the elements and have the show itself feel very tactile and very textural. The first trial, the water trial, it is sort of a Hamptons beach house.
Not exactly the stuff of nightmares.
With the costumes, we have to figure out what are the rules of the road and how is the road as a character manipulating each of these witches.
Is it bad?
I think she looks fantastic.
Oh, I showed up to work like this. I just woke up and came to work. And they were like, I guess you're done.
Those prosthetics, it was amazing. And they were such good sports because that took, I think, 4 hours per actor. And they were in it all day and stayed positive and just so happy all day. It was very fun.
There were so many firsts for me. I've never had prosthetics. I've never had that cast thing done on my face. Oh, wow. I never know what's going to happen. It's a delight.
We're gonna do it dry, even though we're set up for water, a couple of times, just to be sure everyone feels good. We've got camera down, you guys know what's happening. And then once everybody feels good and everybody feels safe, we'll do it with water.
We are about to flood this room for a sequence where the house is underwater, the windows are broken, so water is about 4,000 gallon tanks on both sides of us are gonna pour in from here. We have 2 3,000 gallon tanks up this staircase that are gonna bring water in here. And we'll end up with about a foot of water swirling and flooding on the floor here while our cast attempt to escape outside of the oven over there.
I am not climbing into that oven. That happened to a friend of mine once. She had a lovely house too.
Being in a pool that was also a kitchen was so cool. And when we did our first take, they told us it was going to be a little trickle. And then we did it, and there was like a waterfall of water.
Oh my God, you guys, amazing!
It was crazy.
There's an amazing stills photo of Patty just climbing into my arms.
It makes the whole thing feel more visceral for us, and I don't mind because it's sort of where the characters are, so it helps me track where I am in the story. So I love getting to actually do the things and get dirty, literally.
Oh, it's so good. So good.
The water.
Because of the beautiful, exhilarating proposal of this being practical, we knew there was going to be some trials ahead, not only in the story, but for us as a group. So yeah, did I think I would be sliding down a lube slide with Patti LuPone out of a stove into this set? No.
I was saying to Jack, it's literally like being a part of the Goonies. Like watching the Goonies as a kid, I would be like, that's what I want to do. I want to get on the waterfall. I want to see the pirate ship. I want to go in all the water.
I didn't warn people that I was gonna scream. In my mind, I was like, oh, I'll just scream as the character. And because I'm so put together and prissy, I would hate this. And so I slid down and then crawled through the mud and I was coughing and I was hating it. But I didn't realize that the people behind the camera were concerned. They were like, are you okay? And I was like, yes, I was acting. I was acting.
It was glorious to shoot. It was amazing. And then they realized that poor Mrs. Hart is dead because the consequences are very real on the road.
What if we try to summon a backup Green Witch?
There is so much that could go wrong.
What did you do?
Heard you were having a party.
How did you?
I was in the neighborhood. Agatha recognizes me and was like, oh, brother, here she is again. But this time I'm in full Green Witch form. And the other Coven members don't know who I am.
What's up?
They just think I'm some kind of badass Green Witch that just rolled up on a motorcycle or something. And I'm kind of freaky and kind of weird. And I'm scaring Lilia.
Awkward.
Patty and I kind of created this dynamic where it's out of nowhere I'll be like, ah! And she'll be like, ah!
No!
Just kidding. The stakes are really different for my character because I can't really die because I am death. It allowed me to have a lot of fun on the road because there's so many scenes where they're fighting for their lives and I'm in the background reading a magazine or eating flowers or whatever I do because I'm like, I'm just gonna watch the show, baby. This is fun.
What a scary bitch.
Here we go again.
We have just passed the first trial, and we are now in the fire trial, and we are in what looks to be a recording studio.
When I first saw the set, I was like, I want all this in my house. Everything is so cool. The furniture, the pictures.
One of the major influences of this set was an architect named Bruce Goff, who was an American architect who came up in the 40s but did most of his work in the 50s and 60s that had a really cool organic architecture style that combined different elements like this natural stone and the woodwork and some of the crazy stained glass that you see in here. This is one of the sets as well where we're trying to keep on point with our colors, our oranges and reds and yellows to kind of bring out that fire theme even before we get into the trial itself.
Dreams coming true. This is my sort of sneaky way of making a psychedelic record-producing, weird Suspiria type film. I sort of sneaked it into the show. This is unreal. It's so fantastic.
Don't drink anything, don't eat anything, don't touch anything.
The recording studio looks were just truly some of my favorite.
This is crazy.
The development of Agatha's look was really fun. We started with some classics like Fleetwood Mac and Patti Smith, trying to find this witchy softness.
Check me out. Ah!
Rio's costume is a wonderful blend of Lady Death and the Green Witch, so having these little black sequined flowers all over this netted material really felt like the right choice.
I believe mine was inspired by Cher. I've got like lace and diamonds, which is how I feel most comfortable.
I'm so happy with the way that Jen Cale's costume has come out. We looked at all kinds of references.
My look is very Donna Summer, Minnie Riperton, Diana Ross. It's just a smattering of greatness.
Everybody really owned it. I'll never forget Joe just strutting towards me, and I was like, look at you.
Oh my God.
I love it.
When we've put this satin pants with this furry jacket, it just really all came together. I really thought that this was a fun way for him to sort of lean into more swagger.
We all have been magically transformed into 70s rock amazingness.
Patty as Liza Minnelli just killed me.
I'm thinking it was Eliza costume with those eyelashes. No, it was so crazy.
I always knew that I wanted to see her in some sort of fabulous coat, so it was as if the road was transforming her road witch coat into this.
It's hard not to feel incredible. I mean, it's awesome. It's like this does half of the acting for you. The road isn't subtle.
With Alice, we pulled all kinds of influences from like John Lennon and Yoko Ono, and there was also a little bit of like Steven Tyler in there.
Seriously, we're an album cover waiting to happen.
This is kind of the most spectacular version of the ballad that we get.
I have learned the lesson of all that's foul and fair. Our love was forged in fire, water, earth, and air.
They have to play the song perfectly and beautifully and with their hearts and souls, otherwise they will burn to death.
The road is there, and so I dare to risk this heart of mine. I think it's working! Down, down, down the road, down the witch's road. Down, down, down the road, down the witch's road.
So much was happening. We were playing the guitar, we were singing, I had a stab wound, we were fighting a demon, it was fire, it was like so much things to play, but it felt we were genuinely filming just a music video.
I guess I have sang for shows before, but this was like the first time it's felt like a band. Each of us are like singing different harmonies, we're learning instruments. I have a bass at home that I'm learning to play.
I had a drum instructor for weeks. They lent me a drum set, so I had a drum set in my living room for the last couple months, and I was banging away on that drum set.
Ali is playing the piano, but Ali plays piano, so it's great. Aubrey's been doing the drums, and she's great at drums. And I'm on the guitar, and I can't play guitar. I played guitar for like 6 months when I was 10, and then never since. And so it's been going okay.
You know, it's a coven that's constantly trying and often failing to harmonize. And so the idea that they really truly do look like a band was essential.
The Salem Seven is actually the daughters of the coven that Agatha killed in WandaVision. They've been hunting her ever since.
We each get to play a different animal. I'm the owl, and there's a snake, a fox, a coyote, a raven, a rat, and then there's vertigo.
We had quite a selection of animals today. Forests of the trees are good in some ways. It does make them a little more comfortable, but for like the snake and the rat, there's a lot of little hidey holes, so that can be a little bit of a challenge.
Seeing the fox in real life, I had to take some things that were liberal fox movements and incorporate that with being like a feral witch.
When we're apart, we're these creatures, but when we're together, we're quite powerful and we move as one.
They hired dancers who contort their bodies, so we built these costumes with fabrics that stretch. This silhouette is really close to the silhouette that would have been in the 1690s of Salem. So we sort of tried to anchor ourselves in that period.
If you look closely, there's like details that are different. Mine is a little more frayed and feather-like looking. My headpiece has like bones and feathers in it. And like the snake, she has like kind of a snake skin looking thing. And we have like transformed skirts that go over our head like a hood. And it creates all these different shapes. And we're able to do some cool movements of the whole together. And it's pretty creepy.
I love the physical life. I mean, I feel like it makes it more real, and I could do that stuff all day long. Today I got to fly on a broom. When in my life am I ever gonna get to do that? Today I got to do that.
I loved how we all had our own broom, like we all had our own vibe.
Why haven't we been doing this all along?
And again, it's like my character isn't really scared, so I'm kind of just having a blast, laughing, cackling, just like almost like I was on a roller coaster or something.
It reminds me of those Star Wars rides at Disney World where it's like you're in a container and you're being jostled around.
It looked great.
Okay, good.
You know, everybody knows how old I am, so they're going, "Are you okay, Patty?" I was like, "Yeah."
I'm never coming down.
You know, I'm from the stage, so I was prepared.
How's it feel? I'm so excited.
I felt like I was like 7 years old. The first time I was up, I started just uncontrollably laughing, which doesn't work, obviously. So then I had to really center it. You feel like you're flying. It's so, and they have the best stunt team in the world. No offense to other stunt teams, I'm sure they're amazing, but I have a bias.
So this is the cabin, and this is Agatha's trial. This is the spirit trial. So this is actually our 80s nod to like Poltergeist and all of like the slasher horror films.
The cabin is actually one of my personal favorites. Growing up and being a kid in the 70s and 80s, as we started to bring the set dressing in, it was like, oh, I remember having this, I remember having that.
I was finding things that I had when I was a kid.
Hi guys, sorry, hold the roll
Dude,
real quick.
all of those VHSs.
There was an entire collection of cassette tapes, so I was just in between setups, just finding different albums. It's so tangible. There was just so much to look at and touch and play with.
The trial in the cabin is the air trial. So we were very cognizant of needing that height up above for, you know, the flying ghost Evanora and Agatha up in the air and here.
Agatha's mother possesses Agatha, and then she lets the coven know that the way that they win this trial is to actually leave Agatha behind, and they're ready to do it.
Don't leave me with her!
Until Agatha actually gets possessed again and steals Alice's power.
After Agatha kills Alice, the power dynamic shifts.
Don't touch her! She was protecting you!
but you don't deserve it.
This is the turn for Keen. This is the switch in his character.
You wanted her power. That's what this has always been about for you, isn't it?
Of course it is. That's what all of this is about.
His teenage hormones take over and he can't control his power. He doesn't know he has this ability.
This is a character whose identity is hidden in every corner of the show until it's ultimately revealed that he is the son of the Scarlet Witch reincarnate. He is Billy Maximoff, who found his way into the body of William Kaplan.
I died that night. I know I did. Since when I woke up, I was different. I was something else. Something more.
On our show, we're telling the origin story of two characters, of both Billy and Agatha.
What were you after?
The Witch's Road is what I'm after.
What it does is give us an understanding of the spectrums through which these characters exist. It's not just bad guys being bad guys. It's actually understanding what trauma, what pain, how we build these shells in order to protect our softer core.
My name is William Kaplan. We did it pretty much in order, so we filmed the 13-year-old scenes and then we filmed the car crash and the death. I found when we were filming the scene where they come back from the hospital, when I read it, I thought, oh, that's sad, but he's Billy now, so it's quite cool. And then when we did it, I was like, God, this is like really heartbreaking.
Lost just
Something.
funny.
Just give me my son back.
Okay.
Stop worrying!
I think that Joe has done a really incredible job in being able to tell that story of a 13-year-old who dies and then is inhabited by another soul, and then having to figure out his identity.
He doesn't know who he is, more than just like not knowing his name, not knowing if he is Billy Maximoff or if he is William Kaplan. And then I think he goes on this journey to figure out that he can be both. Coming into his power is a big part of that. And I think that's really nice in the relationship between him and Agatha.
It's nice to see you again. Billy.
You can hear me now.
Every witch with a beating heart can hear you now. Let's go find the next trial.
The final trial that we are shooting is the castle trial. It's an amazing set.
As in the other trials, they always have this ticking clock that gives them a timeline that they have to get this task done by. So in the castle, that is an entire ceiling that we are practically lowering that's covered in swords. So not only are swords falling periodically, but the entire ceiling itself is slowly lowering as the trial goes on.
The ceiling itself is rigged against a counterweight system so that we can lower the ceiling up and down by using this hydraulic ram here to literally, we're pulling the ceiling down into the shot so that if there were any failure here or release, the counterweights would cause it to go up. It's been engineered in reverse, kind of counterintuitive, but in a way that makes it much safer.
Hey, things are looking up.
Oh my God.
The castle has gone through a few iterations since I started. It started out more of like a medieval, dark, stony, typical castle. And as we've developed it, it's kind of become a more playful version of the castle. It's more Disney princess feel to it.
Classic. Oh, she's based on me, you know.
The castle costumes were really exciting and also a bit challenging because these are characters that the world has known for many, many years, and they are beloved characters, celebrated. It's like hallowed ground, you know, with the Wicked Witch of the West. I felt both honored and a little trepidatious about how to design this. You know, we wanted to pay our respects to the original costume in the film. It had to be black. We wanted to bring in some of Agatha's purple, but we made our own touches, you know. We brought in this sort of like crinkly buckle and the hat is tilted. She's got these little bird skulls as her buttons. And so it was important that we knew that she was Agatha, but she was having fun playing the Wicked Witch of the West.
You seem pleased with your look.
Well, if the cheekbones fit.
It's so important to inform the actors with a full experience that they really feel like they're stepping into the character by putting on these things where every inch of it has been considered. For instance, this Maleficent costume, there's a lot of understructure here that sort of cinches him in. And I think what that does for Joe is it gives him that sense of power.
You're being truthful. Well, that can't be right.
Jennifer Kale in the castle is sort of demoted in some ways to play the Crone Witch. We wanted to have something that felt sort of like burlap, like she'd been bedraggled, and we've made this rope belt and this large fantasy hood, and then these sleeves, you know, which are long and sort of have a lot of drama, and she will have to sort of drag herself around.
What are you wearing?
I don't want to talk about it.
What am I wearing? This is so demeaning.
Hey, focus up, Calderoo. We can be culturally offended later.
This is Lilia Calderoo as Glinda the Good Witch. We knew that we wanted to have a poofy skirt, so there's many, many layers underneath this skirt. What I like about this trial is that it is revealed to Lilia who she truly is, and that is that she's the Queen of Cups. And the Queen of Cups tarot is usually drawn where she's sitting in a throne at the shoreline. And so I wanted to bring in this sort of themes of pearls and pearlescent and the sea. We couldn't see her traveling in a bubble, but we could feel it in the costume.
Your coven is shrinking. First Alice, now Lilia. The bodies are really piling up.
We didn't want the show to be soft. Agatha is a complex villain, and so for her story, we needed real death. Death is a big thematic element to the show.
In the end, all roads lead to me.
Today we're filming the final battle, which we've been planning for a very long time. And this is where Agatha has emerged from the final trial, and she is faced with Rio, death, waiting for her.
I was thinking death by 1,000 cuts.
We're doing an alternate approach to a final battle, though I think the classical Marvel final battle has been maybe a bit more full of blasts and explosions, and this is much more grounded because we are here in a backyard, but the stakes are just as high.
You're calling me evil? I am the natural order of all things.
This is, I guess, the most extreme breakup scene you'll have ever seen.
Why don't you want me?
It's a definite love-hate relationship, and I think there's also something interesting about aging. Her ex-girlfriend is death, and you know, the idea that she's constantly trying to outrun death. And of course we can't, but that's like, you know, that's like the tragic element. Death took her child, and now it's coming for her.
It's been absolutely awesome watching Kathryn Hahn and Aubrey Plaza work together, especially here in the final battle.
It's magic, it's magic.
For each take, they rally each other up. Witch cackles galore.
Oh, was it too much?
It was a little too much.
It was, wasn't it?
I think it was.
What about this? It's kind of like Judgment Day, you know, someone's got to go with me. Is it going to be him or is it going to be her?
We're also incredibly excited that in this final battle, we get to behold Wiccan, the superhero. Billy comes back with vengeance to save Agatha, adorning his full Wiccan costume.
This was a really special creation because we wanted it to be a halfway transformation from his look of Billy on the road almost to a full superhero suit without getting fully there. So we pulled in all kinds of things that are actually in his jeans. He has sort of doodles and little runes and magic on the side of his jeans that he's drawn on there, and in the magic of this transformation, those have organized themselves into the runes that create this trim. And then this galaxy print on the side of his pants is actually from the comics. And then the sweater that he wears has these embroidered runes on it that he did himself, and here now they've sort of made their way into an actual sort of protection spell. And we went into the sort of psychology of like what makes him up and how is he coming out in this moment. And so we actually took the print that we created for WandaVision, and it was also in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. And so we sort of abstracted that all over on the outside of his cape. And then we also put his father Vision's cape on the inside. So he always has his parents with him.
Billy comes in the last moment and is able to finally power Agatha up, which is what she's been wanting for the entire journey on the road. The reason why she got on the road, the reason why she's been conning witches, it's just so she can be powered up.
Feels so good.
I love a physical challenge. I love getting ready for it. I didn't think I would, but because I would never say I was like an athlete in any way, but I'm kind of a sneaky one now.
The more grounded we can make something feel, the more the supernatural can really connect. And I think that's the key thing, is to connect emotion to epic moments.
You're not bad.
Neither are you.
You're the only one who thinks so. It was a pretty epic battle. And we really all went through it. I think I got it the most of anyone. Because look at me now. Look what happened. Now I'm a ghost. Can you dig it?
We usually get introduced to a villain, and the villain is what the villain is, and we see them through a very black and white lens. And in this case, we're able to tell the finessed nuance of who she is.
No.
And why she behaves in the way that she does.
Please let him live. Please, my love.
I can offer only time.
What I love so much about Jack Schaefer's writing is that gray area. You know, I say in the first episode, you can't be right and wrong at the same time. And of course, you can be. And of course, Agatha is all those things all the time.
I can cast illusions. I can move objects using my will. But I cannot heal you. I cannot protect you from what's coming.
Being able to see Kathryn bringing that aspect of Agatha to life and being able to see her relationship with her son, it was really beautiful. And then being able to show that, you know, the way that the Witch's Road, the idea of the Witch's Road was constructed.
Walk, walk, walk the road, I walk the windy road.
Oh, you walk this road alone, do you?
And how it actually came from her relationship with her son, with Nikki. And the fact that, you know, together it was a combined effort.
Wherever it may bend, I'll be there at the end.
And then being able to see how that spread like wildfire and really became a myth. You know, it became this coveted thing to find, to get to for any witch, no matter where she is or what century she's in.
Song doesn't mean anything. It never did. The road wasn't real until you made it real.
In my wildest dreams, to be playing a witch in the MCU is, I could not have imagined. It's just crazy how all of our lives have just changed from this show.
Is that because our very presence here means we're officially a coven? And covens share blessings and burdens alike?
There's a whole theme in the show about covens being fated. It's the only thing in the show that is fated is the coven creating itself. We as a cast have also become a coven of our own.
First things first, nobody have fun.
We kind of created a text chain called like the My Pretty Coven, and we referred to each other as the Coven.
To be able to be on a show like this that feels so energetically female is really amazing.
Glamour girls.
It's really cool to feel like that teamwork and that partnership building each day as we do this together.
We've got this, we've got this.
I actually cried as I was going to sleep about 3 weeks ago at the end of this, because this is a very, very rare experience.
The show is based on the power of a group of women together, and it's been so exciting to explore.
For a show about a covenless witch, I sure need my coven.